Talking about rains and raining all day on Saturday, the last few days has been quite a bit of, a drenched situation, just across the country, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
I
North to south, east to west.
I don't understand.
And then
really,
rivers are overflowing their banks, we
yeah.
had the Bagri Dam situation in Burkina Faso affecting much of the northern parts of the country.
Yeah.
I mean, all over the place. Water is just water that a lot of the time we're crying for has also become destructive.
Yes.
And
yes. And water can so easily become destructive.
Oh, yes.
But I think that's also what makes it imperative for human beings to build systems that allow us to at least be a bit more resilient. The experience that we've had in the last few days, Akwadum, what happened there with hundreds of people being stranded and displaced and all of that, it's a very unfortunate situation. I want us to take a look at that report, and then when we get back, we'll get into some conversations on this issue.
I spoke with him before even the rain started, but I got here and he called me that have to use the Nyami Chrome route, but I actually don't know the route. So I thought there was a minor problem at the roadside, but I just got here and I realized it's too bad. So we will plead with the authorities to quickly do something about it because it's very dangerous. If these rains should persist for a week or two, we are not going to get good news. So me, personally, my opinion, I feel your authorities must do something about it.
At the moment, I should say half of the town has been consumed, has been flooded. The whole place is covered up with the river. This is just unprecedented. According to the elderly people in the community whom I inquired today after death, they say that it's been about over 54 years since they saw something of the sort. That was 1968. And this is just unprecedented. Where we are right now, as you can see, the river is spreading its tentacles, consuming all the houses, covering up all the houses. And I think this calls for a national attention. Because people are being displaced, where they are taking their things to the same places to the river is chasing them up there. It is just a serious situation which calls for national attention.
There are 2 days next year, let's start here. So I feel like, you want to start here. So we are on mattress in a sipo in Asio. So Omuni the young bed, I die bubu or no. No, the end he said, the area if people would have a job was it. Yes, you never say.
So that's 2 days of rainfall and new dropping in the eastern region. And that's a report by our colleague, Mika Naku, who is, of course, our eastern regional correspondent. Now, David, I mean, we started out, before you introduced the reports, by talking about this, that all over the country, and it's not just over this weekend, but over the last couple of months or so, we've just seen water do its own thing and take over our spaces, our living spaces. 2 days of rainfall, and then at some point, a river also decides to, okay, I also can't be contained in my natural habitat anymore, so I'm overflowing my banks. And now we're seeing people clamoring for their property and then fighting for their lives. And water is a very interesting element, interesting substance. And you can't predict where it's stronger. It's difficult to see the direction in which it's flowing. It's not like wind. You're outside just by looking at the vegetation around you, so trees or whatever, or even just facing towards a certain direction, you can, feel the wind. You can sort of predict. Water is very interesting. If you're not familiar with the way the currents move, you will drown.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good a swimmer you are or whatever it is, you will drown.
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, I don't know how the people are surviving. And here is a situation to our response to such disasters are difficult.
Yeah.
I'm using a very diplomatic term. Our responses are difficult, you know. So I don't know that these people are going to get the kind of interim respite that they need, or some kind of at least situation will be created for them to have a place to lay their heads, to find food. I imagine that whatever even little money they had,
I mean,
they've
we
lost
really
it.
washed everything away. So, I mean, if it's not in the bank or...
You get me.
Yeah. It's,
so how are you going to deal with
gone.
this situation? But we do have Ni Kanaku on the line. So let's speak to him. Ni, good morning.
Good morning, Abiogo.
How are you doing? Good,
It's
good.
not really good, but we are still managing.
I know. Is it still raining?
No, this morning we've not had the rain. It drizzled somewhere around 5 a.m. This morning, but as we speak, around 8, the sun is gradually coming up as we speak.
But of course, for where you are and the people who are around you, the sun doesn't mean much right now. I mean, what's the situation like? How are people coping? Have any lives been lost? What are you seeing around you?
Yes, it's been confirmed that a body was late last night found floating around the sentimental area in Koforidua. Now, I'm also yet to lay some facts on a child I'm told also got drowned in the process around the Efijase area. As we speak, a lot of people are counting their losses. When you look at the Abraham Kwanta area where there's a shell filling station just next to the runabout, this morning when I visited the place, I could see that majority of them, the workers there, are trying to fix the place. Now, the water has receded, but the depth and the level of mud which has been left behind has become a source of worry for them. Now, majority of the stuff in the mud, that is the mud of the shell filling station, have all gone bad. We talk about some clothes, which also used to be in some boutiques around the area, have all got bought in the process. Now, a number of businesses in the area are all counting their losses as we speak now. But with the Akwadum area, we can say that there's still some flood in that area because we should know that the Densu River flows in that community, which means that a lot of things have been badly damaged and affected in the process. Now, other areas in Koforidua, that is the highway area, the Efijase, Tokori, and some areas in the Zonko, living in those communities are also counting their losses. Now, it's not only in Koforidua that we experience this flooding issue. Now, when you talk about Otopalu, that is in the Krobo enclave, the river there, which also overflows banks and is causing African area. Now, when you go to Asamankese, residents are counting their losses in the area. When you go to Akwatia and Kede, we've recorded a number of floods in that area. So it's been a bad week for the eastern region with regards to flooding issues in the region.
So, is this the first time that you're seeing a situation like this in New Jobin, or is this something that tends to happen whenever it rains and whenever the rains indeed are at these levels?
Yeah, so I think 3 or 4 years ago, we had a similar issue where 3 lives were lost in the process. That is around the Nkupem area. Since then, it's been like a yearly ritual because anytime it rains, especially the Akwadum area, the Akwadum, Abraham Kwanta area, the Zongo, Asokori areas are low-lying areas. So basically, in as much as possible, whenever it rains heavily in that area, when we record like 6 or 5-hour continuous rainfall, the whole place gets flooded. So it's not the first time we are experiencing floods in the area, but for this magnitude, I would say it's been a long time we experienced flood in this magnitude.
Okay, Nee, so these are low-lying areas, of course. We've established that. We're also looking at a lot of the parts that have been affected, and they are Zongo communities, right? But so I want to find out, are these areas that were supposed to be livable spaces? Have they been earmarked, as far as you know, as spaces that people should be living in the first place?
So, with urbanization, majority of the people are getting lands in areas that they are not supposed to get lands. They are establishing houses, they are constructing buildings and stuff like that in this area. So you would not say you would fault them in the process. But some of them have also been living in the areas, especially with the Akwadum area like this. I understand the last time they experienced flood of this magnitude was around 1968.
Wow.
Indicating that it's been a long time they had this magnitude of flood in the area. So other than that, majority of them they've been living peacefully, but they record floods, but not on to this magnitude. At least it gets to the knee level or the foot level, and then they watch the areas, and then life goes back to normal. But with this, it's been very difficult for all the residents in these areas as we speak now.
Nee, what's the general response of NADMO to the situation there, the destruction?
So as early as possible, that was yesterday in the morning, the municipal chief executive, that is Madam Comfort Asante, together with NADMO and the fire service, and then some personnel from the police service, the regional command, were on the ground trying to help the affected residents in the area. But we all know that NADMO, they are handicapped because when it comes to tools, logistics, and equipment, they don't have. It's evidently clear they don't have. So it's been very difficult for them. When we look at the Eastern Regional Office of the Electricity Company of Ghana, the whole place got flooded. The first floor of the building all got submerged. More than 20 cars in the yard all got submerged in the process. But they were still on the ground. Now, these areas, majority of them use wells. And as the flood situation goes up, now these people are all without water as we speak now. So the assembly is making efforts and arrangements to provide some poly tanks and then get some water tankers to also supply them with water. So it'll be very difficult. It's very difficult for these residents in the areas because even getting potable water has become a problem. Not to talk about those who are going to commercial people who cook for people to also enjoy. So it's very difficult for them. Not though they are still on the ground, but they're handicapped and helpless in a bit. And then the fire service also, they are also trying to do their better portions. We also have indications that a gold filling station around the Epidasi area also recorded some leakage in the underground tanks. So the National Fire Service also tried to cordon off the place to avoid any fatality in the process. So Koku has been very difficult for residents in area, that is the Epidasi area, the Highways area, the Sokori area, the Abraham Kwanta area, the Akwadum, which happens to be in the New Japan North Municipality, the Akwatia area, the Asamanketi area, the Otopolu area. It's been very difficult for residents in these places as we speak now.
Okay, so Nee, my final question to you, I mean, so in all that you're seeing and everything that you're experiencing there, I mean, of course, it's clear that NADMO is doing the best with the challenges that they have. I'm glad to hear that the National Fire Service has also stepped in and, and what's not. But health facilities, I imagine that some people may have received injuries or, because of the water, near drowning situations. I may be wrong, but how are health facilities coping? And again, if you're speaking about a water situation, that's becoming precarious, how are they dealing with the situation?
So some of the residents I spoke to actually called for a national intervention because of the level of the flood in the area. Now, health experts are also trying to come in to do their part now, but they are cautioning residents in these affected areas to be very mindful of the kind of water they drink, and because they are raising concerns that there may be some breakout of some diseases if due care is not taken in these areas, these affected areas. But the fire service, the National Ambulance Service are also on the ground trying to help out with these people. And the body which was also seen and found floating around the sentiment area, the police have begun investigations, and they are waiting for families to also report and then identify this body which was found floating in the area. So, in a nutshell, it's not been easy for residents in the area. We are just praying that the rains do not come today, because if it should continue today, that means it's going to be difficult for them. We are also going to experience it flooding for more than 3 days in the area.
All right.
Okay. Neil, thank you very much. Thank you. And we'll be keeping an eye on the situation as always. We've been speaking to Neil Niamate Kanaku. He is the Eastern Regional Correspondent for Citi News, and he's been talking about and keeping us abreast with what's going on in parts of the Eastern region where perennial flooding is happening after 2 days of endless rainfall. We're seeing that hundreds of people have been displaced. Some people have lost their lives. Property is being destroyed, and indeed we even have fuel stations that have had water enter their underground deposits and whatever. It's a difficult and tragic situation, but of course we will be keeping an eye on this. Hopefully our authorities can continue to keep things at bay so that we don't lose any more life and property. Let's go for a break. This is Breakfast Daily. We'll be right back.